Hi, good evening. I am Poem Praise 2, and I like to welcome you. Peace and blessings be upon you and your family this evening. Now we are on. I do have an evening read for you. It's coming from Lies My Teacher Told Me by James Lowen. We are currently on chapter number 4, which is entitled Red Eyes. This is take number 8 of this chapter. So without further ado, this evening read that I have for you, it reads as such. Probably states attracted the admiration of European observers. Frontiersmen were taken with the extent to which Native Americans enjoyed freedom as individuals. Women were also accorded more status and power in most Native societies than in white societies of the time, which white women noted with envy in captivity narratives. Although leadership was substantially hereditary in some nations, most American Indian societies north of Mexico were much more democratic than Spain, France, or even England in the 17th and 18th centuries. There is not a man in the ministry of the 5 nations who has gained his office otherwise than by merit, waxed Lieutenant Governor Cadwalader Colden of New York in 1727. Their authority is only the esteem of the people, and seizes the moment that esteem is lost. Colden applied to the Iron Cross or Iron Crease. I don't know if I said that correctly. I'm going to spell it for y'all. It is IROQUOIS, terms redolent of natural rights of mankind. Here we see the natural origins of all power and authority among a free people. Indeed, Native American ideals are partly responsible for our democratic institutions. We have seen how Native ideals of liberty, fraternity, and equality found their way to Europe to influence the philosophers such as Thomas More, Locke, Montaigne, Montaigne, Montesquieu, Montesquieu, and Rousseau, or Rosé, which is Rousseau. These European thinkers then influenced Americans such as Franklin, Jefferson, and Madison. In recent years, historians have debated whether American Indian ideas may also have influenced our democracy more directly. Through 150 years of colonial contact, Iroquois League stood before the colonies as an object lesson in how to govern a large domain democratically. The terms used by Lieutenant Governor Colden find an echo in our Declaration of Independence 50 years later. Now here's a little picture. I'm going to show y'all this in the book. I'll go a little close right there. And I'm going to hold it there just for a second for you to see it. Okay. I'm going to read to you now what's up under the picture. And this is what's up under that picture that I just showed you. After Colonel Henry Bouquet, Bouquet, defeated the Ohio Indians at Bushy Run in 1763, he demanded the release of all white captives. Most of them, especially the children, had to be bound hand and foot and forcibly returned to white society. Meanwhile, the native prisoners went back to their defeated relations with great signs of joy. In the words of the anthropologist Frederick Turner in Beyond Geography, 245, Turner rightly calls these scenes infamous and embarrassing. All right, and we will continue on with our read. Now, in the 1740s, the Inquos, wearied of dealing with several often bickering English colonies, suggested that the colonies form a union similar to the League. In 1754, Benjamin Franklin, who had spent much time among the Inquos observing their deliberations, pleaded with colonial leaders to consider his Albany plan of union. It would be a strange thing if 6 nations of ignorant savages should be capable of forming a scheme for such a union and be able to execute it in such a manner as that it has subsisted ages and appears insoluble, and yet, like a union, should be impracticable for 10 or a dozen English colonies. The colonies rejected the plan, but it was a forerunner of the Articles of Confederation and Constitution. Both the Continental Congress and the Constitutional Convention referred openly to Inquos ideas and imagery. In 1775, Congress formulated a speech to the Iroquois, Iroquois, signed by John Hancock, and quoted Iroquois advice from 1744. The 6 nations are a wise people, Congress wrote. Let us hearken to their counsel and teach our children to follow it. I'm going to repeat that last sentence twice here on Poem Praise 2, just for reiteration for you. The 6 nations are a wise people, Congress wrote. Let us hearken to their counsel and teach our children to follow it. Here is a symbol right here. I believe you may have seen this symbol. Just look at it real quick. See that? I'm going to read to you this little insert right here, okay? And next to it, it says, as a symbol of the new United States Americans, choose the eagle clutching a bundle of arrows. They knew that both the eagle and the arrows were symbols of the Iroquois, Iroquois League. Although one arrow is easily broken, no one can break 6 or 13 at once. Yeah, they're giving you a symbol of like what the actual eagle is holding. You see the down here. Just when you actually look at it and actually break a picture down. You know, because sometimes I heard a long time ago that a picture could tell 1,000 words. So, you know, you just look at it and be like, kind of like art. What is it? What is it telling me? More than just the words and the sayings and the picture, you know? Just saying. Let us continue on here. John Mohawk has argued that American Indians are directly or indirectly responsible for the public meeting tradition, free speech, democracy, and all those things which got attached to the Bill of Rights. Without the native example, do you really believe that all those ideas would have found birth among a people who had spent a millennium butchering other people because of intolerance of questions of religion. Mohawk may have overstated the case for Native democracy, since heredity played a major role in office holding in many American Indian societies. His case is strengthened, however, by the fact that wherever Europeans went in the Americas, they projected monarchs, in parentheses as King Philip, or other undemocratic leaders onto Native societies. To some degree, this projecting was done out of European self-interest, so they could claim to have purchased tribal land as a result of dealing with one person or fraction. The practice also portrayed habitual European thought. Europeans could not believe that nations did not have such rulers, since that was the only form of government they knew. For 100 years after our revolution, Americans created Native Americans as a source of their democratic institutions. Revolutionary era cartoonists used images of American Indians to represent the colonies against Britain. Virginia's period rifle companies wore Indian clothes and moccasins as they fought the redcoats, as they fought the redcoats. When colonists took actions to oppose unjust authority, as in the Boston Tea Party, or the Patriot protests against Dutch plantations in the Hudson River Valley during the 1840s, they chose to dress as American Indians. Not to blame Indians for the demonstrations, but to appropriate a symbol identified with liberty. Of course, Dutch traditions influenced Plymouth as well as New York. So did English common law and Magna Carta. American democracy seemed to be another example of syncretism, combining ideas with Europe and Native America. The degree of Native influence is hard to specify, since that influence came through several sources. Textbooks might present it as a soft hypothesis rather than hard fact, but they should not leave it out. In all the textbooks I surveyed, discussion of an intellectual influence of Native Americans on European Americans was limited to a single caption in one book, Discovering American History. Beneath the wampum belt paired with Benjamin Franklin's famous cartoon of a divided hen's dying snake. Franklin's Albany plan might have been inspired by the Iroquois, Iroquois League is the caption. The wampum belt expressed the unity of tribes achieved through the League. Compared with Franklin's cartoon, the other books are silent. But then, textbooks leave out most contributions of Native Americans to American culture. Our regional cuisines, the dishes that make American food distinctive, often combine Indian with European and African elements. Examples range from New England pork and beans to New Orleans gumbo to Texas chili, mutual acculturation, acculturation, excuse me, I'm going to spell that word, acculturation, between Native and American, African Americans, owed to shared experience and slavery, as well as escapes by Black to Native communities, accounts for soul food being part Indian, from cornbread and grits to greens and hush puppies. native place names dots our landscape from Okefenokee to Alaska. Native farming methods were not primitive. Farmers in some tribes drew 2 or 3 times as much nourishment from the soil as we do. Place names, too, show intellectual interchange. Whites had to be asking Indians, "Where am I? What is this place called? What is that animal? What is the name of that mountain?" I'm going to end it right there for take number 8. Stay tuned to Poem Praise 2 for take number 9. Certainly hit that like button, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. You'll know when Poem Praise 2 is coming with something new for you. But until then, I certainly want for you to be safe, to be well, to be blessed, and it be it thy will. Poem Praise 2 will see you soon. So until then, later, 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 y'all.